What's up, guys? It's your boy Spider Productions here, and today we are here with another new Rockstars video. This time they're doing a breakdown of OBI-WAN KENOBI. So I'm usually watching their Marvel stuff, so I might as well see what they thought about Star Wars. I know I saw Eric on Instagram and Twitter. He went to the Star Wars celebration, so lucky for him. I wanted to go a couple months ago, but my birthday's next week, so I wouldn't have had really the time. And I didn't really have anybody else to go with because I didn't want to go by myself. So maybe next time. Maybe next time when they have it in Chicago, I'll go. But, yeah. So this time, we're going to see what he thought about the Obi-Wan Kenobi episode. We're going to see his breakdown of it. So without further ado, let's jump right in.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and this is a breakdown of Obi-Wan Kenobi Episode 1. So we open on Coruscant, and right away we should be worried, because there is only one reason this series would return here. So we all know Order 66 happened. Why do we need to revisit it again? Well, look closely at the first youngling we see. I think that might be a young Reva, future third sister.
Yeah, I heard a lot of people were saying that they think that that's Reva.
Mostly former Jedi. Either one's on the fence with the Jedi orthodoxy and easily flipped, or one's captured and tortured into servitude. Now, we don't see what happens to these younglings yet, but I am willing to bet one of these kids became Reva, because later in this episode she says,
"The Jedi are cowards. They failed you. Abandoned you."
Remember, Obi-Wan didn't get to the temple until it was too late. That could be Reva's grudge against him.
What is it you think you will gain by capturing him?
When I'm old.
But in the opening shot, one of the high-rises we see is likely 500 Republica, the VIP residence where currently Padme Amidala is residing. Wondering where Anakin is, we glide from the urban sprawl past lush green hedges, a natural, seemingly protective barrier to this serene youngling training session, a session with no lightsabers, leaving these younglings particularly defenseless. Now, their Jedi Master is credited as Minas Velti, a Jedi Master we didn't know about until now. Either way, R.I.P. Dipper Chow switches to Steadicam when the 501st Clone Troopers burst in, showing the chaotic perspective of the huddling younglings. Chow makes it so harrowing. Very little cutting, the camera moving like a war photojournalist. Constantly, Velti checks back in with her students, and her swan song is just so beautiful to watch, with acrobatic twirls and fluid movements, just not enough to overcome the constant barrage of blasts. So the younglings are forced to flee.
And you just keep hearing it over and over again.
Hear Palpatine's voice on the speakers of the temple. The PA system, really just one plane of Execute Order 66, is enough to activate the Clone Troopers' inhibitor chips, but after we saw some, like Rex, resist, clearly Palpatine wants his voice on repeat now in the Jedi Temple so that there are no defections. Now, I scoured this massacre looking for Anakin, Nada, and Grogu, Grata, but as the fighting Jedi are
I doubt you see
down,
Grogu in this.
Black, you can see two green-bladed Jedis remaining fighting. That one on the right even pulls off a gnarly force push. Obviously, there's way more clone troopers in there. Maybe one of these two were able to get away. Might have even been that Jedi Master who broke free and managed to get Grogu out of the temple. The opening title card hides the shape of Obi-Wan's lightsaber in the eye. All of this blue on screen as sand. A little tease for how Obi-Wan actually buried his lightsaber in the sand. On to Mos Eisley 10 years later. Now, 10 years after Revenge of the Sith is the year 9 BBY, 9 years before the events of A New Hope. The Inquisitor's transport ship soars overhead, its shadow cutting down the street like a gaping mouth, Pac-Man style, ready to devour all of these townsfolk. The twin prongs of the ship reflect the twin spires of Darth Vader's castle on Mustafar. Also in the trailers, the shape of their chairs in their Fortress Inquisitorius on Earth.
Cool.
We meet 3 of the Inquisitors being Jedi hunters created by Palpatine and given to Darth Vader to command. They're all former Jedi, or at least Force sensitive, and they're led by the Grand Inquisitor, Rupert Friend, a Pauan, a race that we actually saw in Revenge of the Sith on Utapau, but his appearance has been toned down here. Also toned down from how the character looks in Rebels Season 1 when he was voiced by Jason Isaacs. But he was a former Jedi guard actually present for the trial of Ahsoka Tano.
So I didn't know he was the same species as the guy from Episode 3. I forgot what a species was. I didn't know that was the same species. Interesting. Yeah, he's very toned down in live action compared to how he looks in Rebels. And if he's supposed to look like how those creatures look, that's definitely not at all the same. Now, I would only say the reason that they probably toned it down was because they wanted to do some scenes with him fighting, and they didn't want that over big ass head prop on him. That's the only explanation that I would give it. But we saw him get stabbed in Episode 2, so I don't think so. I think he's not dead. I think that's just a way of getting him out of the series and have him be in sabbatical. so we don't see him until Rebels. But I don't know. I just feel like that was kind of a cop-out. I'm not gonna lie. Like, the fact that she was even able to get an upper hand on the Grand Inquisitor, like, there's no reason he should be called the Grand Inquisitor if one of your subordinates can just easily stab you like that. Like, I don't know. Like, I would say, if you're the Grand Inquisitor, like, I'm assuming there are 3 levels of power. There's the Emperor, there's Darth Vader, and then there's the Grand Inquisitor. I would think the Grand Inquisitor is probably the 3rd most powerful. He's not nowhere near powerful as Vader or the Emperor, but somewhat, like, maybe 30, 40%. So I would say that there's no way your lower subordinate, which is the 3rd sister, could have easily stabbed you. I think that's just kind of ridiculous, in my opinion. And then if they're saying that's not the actual Grand Inquisitor from Rebels, then that's weird to have him look like the Grand Inquisitor. And everybody's saying that it is. They're not saying his actual name, so I don't know. I think that's just a weird cop-out way to get rid of him, personally, because I had time to think about it, and I'm just like, I can make all the excuses in my head, but I'm like, it still doesn't make sense. I don't know.
Ahsoka was falsely accused and ended up leaving the Jedi Order. Sung Kang plays the 5th brother, who also shows up in Rebels, alongside the 7th sister, all of that taking place about 5 years after this. Mose Zingram plays a new character, Reva, the 3rd sister. I like how this overhead shot really emphasizes the Grand Inquisitor's red tattoos, like daggers aimed out at everyone, also reflecting the points of that ship. His eyes are a fiery yellow, better matching the character's eyes in Rebels. He tells the saloon proprietor,
"In actuality, I would say, the Jedi hunt themselves."
The Grand Inquisitor eyes the Jedi in the corner, Nari, Benny Safdie, indicating that he might know at this point who the Jedi is in the room, but he draws it out because the 2017 Darth Vader comics by Charles Soule show how the Grand Inquisitor sees himself as a bit of an academic. This guy was denied access to the Temple archives by Jocasta Nu, so now he takes this opportunity to lecture the room on Jedi orthodoxy as a sickness.
Jedi cannot help what they are. Their compassion leaves a trail. The Jedi Code is like an itch. You cannot help it.
We see all the evidence of a Jedi scuffle in this place from the Grand Inquisitor's Sherlockian point of view. The lightsaber burns on the wall, the bandage on the proprietor's hand from when the bandits robbed him. Now, thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. Have you been struggling their after help area under the message Rockstars or Rockstars is the Jedi's hand % off your first month. But Reva subverts the Grand Inquisitor's lecture and forces the Jedi's hand, showing she was totally willing to murder that proprietor.
What is after scraps?
Scraps are all we have left.
Then we should be hunting bigger prey.
He is not yours to find. We are past this 3rd sister.
Interesting. So the Inquisitors now have to be more nuanced to find these better hidden Jedi, but Reva just wants Kenobi. And by telling her, not yours to find, indicates that the Inquisitors were actually told to leave Kenobi for Vader. On to Obi-Wan Kenobi, now going by Ben Kenobi, his alias from A New Hope. He works his gig harvesting meat from a 5-finned whale-like creature in the Dune Sea. I like how you can see workers on the higher levels of the scaffolding spearing new slits into that carcass. Now, this is not a purgle. This is a new species on Tatooine.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I've never seen that species
sand like the Great Dragon does. The Book of Boba Fett repeatedly brought up Tatooine's distant past covered by oceans. This whale,
they did say it used to be an ocean.
We get a close-up of his butcher knife. This is the same guy who called blasters so uncivilized compared to lightsabers. And a bloody knife, if you think about it, is a step further. I think it's just a nice point of contrast to the major step back that he takes at the end of this episode. The power droid, aka the gonk droid, says gonk every time it pays them out. I just love that. And then Ben greets his EOB. This is the camel-like riding animal that we last saw Obi-Wan on in Revenge of the Sith when he dropped off Luke with Owen and Beru. In his cave home, Ben stirs liquid into instant stew, evoking Rey's portion bread in The Force Awakens. The Jawa Atika says she could smell Obi-Wan from Anchorhead, Anchorhead being a Tatooine town mentioned in A New Hope.
Tomorrow I want you to take that R2 unit to Anchorhead and have its memory erased.
And she sells them a toy of a T-16 Skyhopper. This is the same toy that we see Luke playing with in A New Hope. Ben tries to give this one to Luke, but Owen throws it back, breaking it. Presumably by the end of the season, Luke will get this one, and we will all cry knowing that the toy Luke had with him at the start of A New Hope was a gift from Unky Ben. Tika says that she has a tribe to feed, echoing the meat worker earlier who said that he had a family to feed. You know who else has a family to feed? Not Ben. He grieves the Jedi family he lost when Tika offers him the scavenged Jedi utility belt, just like the one he used to wear as a Jedi Knight. Knight, literally the same kind of costume piece Ewan McGregor would probably wear for years of his life. His nightmares form a prequel highlight reel. Begins with Padme's voice saying, "I know there's good in him." Those were her dying words in Revenge of the Sith. Then the lava of Mustafar, and Anakin lowering the lightsaber on him during their duel there. Obi-Wan screaming, "You were my brother, Anakin, I loved you." Qui-Gon dying in his arms from Phantom Menace when he made Obi-Wan promise to train Anakin. Anakin's red and blue lightsaber flashes while fighting Dooku in Attack of the Clones. Anakin laughing while diving the speeder on Coruscant. Then Anakin screaming as his face burned off. Padme's dying breaths again. Yoda saying, "Only pain you will find," which is right before he showed Obi-Wan the security tapes of Anakin killing even the younglings. More dueling on Mustafar. Then Maul's killing blow to Qui-Gon. Obi-Wan having the high ground. "You are the chosen one." Then infant Luke with sounds of a baby crying. Then, "I hate you." Padme giving birth. And then Jake Lloyd Anakin in the Naboo starfighter cockpit. And it's interesting to note, Obi-Wan was not present for young Anakin in that starfighter in all of those scenes. Obi-Wan was in the Naboo palace fighting Maul at the time. So that means Obi-Wan isn't just remembering. His mind is also linking with Anakin's personal memories in his present mind. The Force is bringing them together. When Obi-Wan wakes up, he calls out.
That does make sense, because he didn't see him during that time. He was too busy fighting Maul.
Remember, Revenge of the Sith ended with Yoda promising to teach Obi-Wan how to commune with Qui-Gon's Force ghost.
One who has returned from the netherworld of the Force. Your old master.
Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
How to commune with him, I will teach you.
So I am assuming we will see, or at least hear, Liam Neeson cameo at some point this season. Ben passes a scurrier. These are the
We know how Yoda was able to figure it out
a lot in the Book of Boba Fett and The Mandalorian. And he looks over at the Lars homestead, looking just as it did in A New Hope. 10-year-old Luke Skywalker sneaks away from Uncle Owen, Joel Edgerton returning from the prequels, and Aunt Beru, Bonnie Piesse, also back. Beru wears the same outfit as she does in A New Hope.
And we don't even see her at all.
Goggles, just like his daddy. Nari finds Ben, who at first adjusts his voice a little bit.
"You're making some kind of mistake. My name is Ben."
And when Nari calls his bluff, Obi-Wan finally speaks in his normal voice.
"You must leave. You'll draw too much attention."
It's a subtle distinction, but he definitely tried to change it for "My name is Ben." Obi-Wan tells him to bury his lightsaber in the ground, which, as we see later, is exactly what he did. And then on to Alderaan. It's our second time seeing it in live action after a brief scene in Revenge of the Sith. The girl we see dressed in finery is not Leia, it's a decoy, a trick that her mother Padme would also use, often swapping places with her handmaiden Sabé on Naboo. Breha Organa is played by Simone Kessel. Rebecca Jackson Mendoza played her in Revenge of the Sith, and young Leia is played by Jennifer Blair, who you may have seen.
I mean, I guess it's not.
It's not all these Padme parallels. It's so sweet to see how similar Leia has become to her brother Luke. Both these kids sneak away from their foster parents. They climb the highest point they can. They have droids as their best friends, and they spend all their days staring at ships in the sky. Remember, deleted scenes in A New Hope showed Luke with his friends staring up at the space battle. And Leia, now being so comfortable in these high trees, definitely justifies her smooth transition when she later lives among the Ewoks. Leia spots a medical freighter, a pleasure barge, which she calls boring, as she will later be bored out of her mind as Jabba's slave on his pleasure barge. A casino ship, not bad. And then a Tri-Wing, saying that's a new one. And indeed, the Tri-Wing S91X Pegasus is a new one to Lucasfilm, designed by Doug Chang and his team in 2019 for The Rise of Skywalker in collaboration with Porsche. Leia speculates the pilot is an Aquilian Ranger scouting for Mercen pirates. Deep cuts here. Aquilian Rangers were from George Lucas's second draft of his Luke Starkiller script, a non-Jedi race who carried laser swords and used the Force. They actually appeared in the third draft of the screenplay alongside the Rebels on Yavin 4, but were later sort of dropped from Star Wars canon. Meanwhile, Mercen Pirates is a Legends detail from Mary Jo Duffy's 1979 comics, but they also exist in canon as a separatist group from the 2019 role-playing game. I mean, she just dropped so many Star Wars Easter eggs in like 10 seconds. Young Leia definitely proved herself the ultimate Star Wars nerd. Her droid Lola is awesome.
Down.
I like how its rings lift up like mouse ears. Queen Breha says it's like raising a Glorag, which is a deep-cut beast referenced in an article of the Star Wars Adventure Journal. I like how Ben's day repeats beat for beat, shot by shot. A cool way of showing the routine he has to go through. But this time it ends with him clashing with Owen.
We talked about this. When the time comes, he must be trained.
Like you trained his father?
Ooh, burn. I mean, no, seriously, he burned him. I love how both Ewan McGregor and Joel Edgerton are vocally emulating the actors who originated these roles, Alec Guinness and Phil Brown.
Yeah.
Reva and the fifth brother return.
They're really good at that.
One woman objects.
We're not under the Empire's
Yeah, fun fact, WikiLeaks co-host Tommy Bechtold actually auditioned for this part. Also, in the background of the scene is a cameo by Star Wars podcaster Steele Saunders, another guy we ran into here at Star Wars Celebration. The fifth brother leaves a bounty pug for Nari, the same kind of bounty pug that we saw on The Mandalorian. Owen ends up not giving up Obi-Wan, but he says,
Didn't do it for you.
That's because he did it for Luke, because if Obi-Wan was captured, they would figure out why Obi-Wan was on the planet and then come after Luke. The Organas greet their relatives, Duke Ko, Duchess Selly, and Cousin Yano. All of them suck.
After the disaster of the Republic, the Empire is finally lining some pockets.
There are still some issues that we need to address. Slave labor, taxation of the outer rim.
I didn't come here to end slavery, Bale. I came to eat your food.
Yeah, they are very sucky people. The Empire changed a lot of
the
people,
bleeding heart of the
unfortunately.
Poor Bail Organa trying to still make anything good out of his phony role in the Senate. But the reality is, the Empire bribing noble family members like this is exactly what kept leaders like KO in line. I mean, a little good that did then. C-3PO cameos, Anthony Daniels' voice translating one alien language into another. R2-D2 actually appears briefly a little bit later in this episode.
Oh, really? Wow.
These droids were left with the Organas after Revenge of the Sith, but only 3PO's memory was wiped.
What?
Oh, so Archie's memory wasn't wiped at all.
Cousin,
Okay.
wise beyond her years.
I was
She's
wondering
only 10
that.
here. It's just fun to imagine 9 years later she will be Carrie Fisher in A New Hope. Leia says she'd rather be digested by a Jacko beast than apologize. Jacko beasts are bantha-sized tundra beasts known for being force sensitive. Bale tells her that he used to want to chase Purgo.
Wow.
Those were the hyperspace whales that led to the disappearance of Ezra Bridger and Thrawn in Rebels. Leia gets kidnapped by bandits led by Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and an actor in his own right. Bale and Breha beg Obi-Wan to help, but he refuses the call.
It's been 10 years. I'm not who I used to be.
And so, in the third act of this episode, we see Obi-Wan completing a third day following the same exact routine until it is broken by seeing Nari's corpse strung up on display. He comes home and finds his sensor light, but now blinking red, meaning an intruder, that intruder being Bale, who traveled all the way here for a personal appeal.
There is no one I trust more with my child than you.
Setting up Bale later trusting Obi-Wan again with Leia in A New Hope.
Years ago, you served my father in the Clone Wars. Now he begs you to help him in his struggle against the Empire.
So Ben digs up his lightsabers, both his and Anakin's, metaphorically digging up both of these Jedi identities that he had buried. The identities of Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now, amazing how there was nothing there marking the spot. He either recognized the shape of the dunes or the shadows at that time of day, maybe used the Force to say
Yeah, I was about to say, like, how the hell did he know specifically where it
He won't
was?
be able to help it. The Jedi will hunt himself.
Echoing the Grand Inquisitor's wisdom from before, you can always count on a Jedi by forcing their hand to save a life. And the final shot shows Obi-Wan's lightsaber back on his hip, but my favorite detail about this, remember, when he dug it up from the box, it was caked in dust. Now it is shiny and polished, just like we saw him do every day cleaning his butcher knife. This man respects his tools, especially when he knows he's going to have to use it again soon. And like this tool, he too has dusted himself off to get out of the dirt and onto a new world. It's such an amazing start to this 6-episode series. I'm
Yeah,
going to break
love
down
that first
episode 2 in a separate video coming tomorrow. So be sure to subscribe to New Rockstars, follow me on Instagram and Twitter at EAVoss, follow New Rockstars.
Well, guys, there you have it. I love that breakdown. It was much more serious taken than most of Rockstar's previous videos. Like they've had, like, you know, some jokes in here, but it was more so a serious video. Like, he took this much more seriously than the other Marvel videos he typically does. But I liked it. I liked it a lot. You guys will definitely see my reaction to the episode part 2 breakdown tomorrow, but I hope you guys enjoyed my reaction to this episode of his breakdown of episode 1 of Obi-Wan. If you guys did, let me know in the comments down below what your favorite part of this video was. I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions down below. Drop a like on the video for your boy. Hit the subscribe button to be part of the community and bell notifications so you guys know when I should post next. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.